let's get right into it. For
Yeah.
the people who don't really know, who is JB as a person, as an artist, just, give us a rundown.
I know. I love that question. Are the artist and the person the same thing? I would say so. JB stands for my full name. My full name is Jessica Brittany Smith. So actually the way that the name JB kind of happened is really funny. I'm also an actor. I've taken a few steps back from that, but when I had to join in the Screen Actors Guild, Jessica Brittany Smith is like the most common name you've probably ever heard of. And so I couldn't quite use Jessica. And then somebody was like, why don't you go by like JB? And I was like, Jessica Brittany sounds so classy. It sounds
Mhm.
so, it worked. And then when I really started taking music seriously, I mean, I think it's always been a pursuit or something that I use to soothe myself. But when it came to like how does JB sound, there was just something about that JAIBEE of like honoring the way that things phonetically sound. So it is my name, it's the same, but it's just different ways of expressing who I am, which I think is something again that we all have, right? We're all different in different formats. You talk to your moms differently than the way that you talk to your best friends, different than the way that you talk to your dog, right? But as long as you're honoring all those pieces of yourself. So yeah, JB is me.
Awesome. So I didn't know that you were an actress. Tell us, like, were you in any like, short films, plays? Like, what kind of actress like were you?
Yeah. So there's a Netflix series that folks can catch me in on a brief moment. There's I think it's called, I always forget these two. It's either Harlem or Uptown Girls, but one of the two that recently came out. I have my bachelor's from Tisch School of the Arts in acting.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was always, I think, one thing that I think is so funny with acting and singing is like singing is just you. You can't hide behind anything else. And I think acting, you still use your truth, but you put it through someone else. So I was always really curious about like how does one go through life? Like I always said, I'm either going to major in psychology, either on its feet or through the textbooks.
Mm,
To do on its feet because people fascinate me. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it'll always be a part of who I am for
That's
sure.
so cool. So tell us a little bit about like growing up. Like, have you always been like a
Yeah.
person who's like creatively and artistically like inclined? Like, has that always been you from like the jump, or is it something that kind of
I've
came
been
later?
told. So I've been told. I feel like I had a moment maybe like 5 years ago where I was like, oh, I'm the Phoebe of my friends, where like I didn't know that I was the weird, quirky one of all my friends, but everyone else knew that.
Okay.
But yeah, growing up, I was always like, I come from I don't want to say huge musical family background, but my mom's cousin was in Parliament. My he's like, he might as well be my uncle. My uncle Lenny is a jazz musician, so I was always around music.
Hmm.
My parents even have this crazy recording of me. I think we, for the longest time, thought I was 5, but turned out I was actually 3, and I'm like singing to a Diane Reeves song. She's a
Oh,
jazz
wow.
and copying her intonations and her breath and everything. So, yeah, I mean, it's always been something that I think was my way of finding freedom. I think being a kid can be kind of lonely sometimes. But being able to find your space where you feel like just you and is pure excitement, that's always what art was for me. So it's always been, I think, like in my environment and then also in my blood.
What was that Diana Reeves song, if you remember it, that you were singing?
Absolutely. I know it by heart. It's like a lover. So I think originally it's a Sarah Vaughan tune that she did with a Brazilian guitarist. Maybe I'm getting that wrong, but then Diane Reeves is this fascinating, beautiful singer. I actually just got to see her earlier this year. They were honoring my uncle, and she was one of the performers, which was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, she has this song called Like a Lover that I think in a way like makes sense to who I am as a writer or even singer, where she talks about like I want to be the tea in your cup. I want to be the fingerprint on the table. Like that sense of, I always joke with my parents like they messed me up because every song was about love.
Mhm.
And I just so badly wanted to know what that was like.
Yeah.
She embodies that in that song beautifully, beautifully.
Is it a song that you still sing to this day?
So actually during the pandemic, I got to work with Lee Saval Studios, which is really dope. I don't know if you know of them. They're this spot in Brooklyn that
Mhm.
they still record to vinyl. which is so, so dope. And so I had a list of songs that I was going through, and shout out to Manny Reyes. He's a beautiful guitarist, jazz guitarist, and he was like, "Let's try this." And I did, and it was so amazing to sing and explore. But yeah, I mean, I know that song like the back of my hand. Like I won't do it for you now, but like I could sing it at any moment, kind of thing. Like it's one of those that always lives in my body, so to speak.
If you have a recording of you singing it, I'd love for you to send it over. We could totally put it on the article as well, you know. Even if you have the one of you when you were younger, you know, that'd be really cool too. You just to
Yeah,
see.
I don't, it's so crazy. I think that's on like a cassette tape somewhere where I don't know
Okay,
where it
cool.
is. There is a recording of it. I will find it. I can't tell you if it's the prettiest because it was raining that day and we were like rehearsing, but I will definitely send some stuff along so you can hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were talking a little bit about how your family is a little bit more into the music scene as well. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I hope it's okay. I'm drinking tea. If you're like,
Oh
JB,
yeah. What kind of tea you drinking? We gotta know.
I'm drinking green tea at the moment. Green
Love some
tea, a
green tea.
little caffeinated, gonna keep me relaxed either way. So I try to have, I'm not a big caffeine person in terms of like coffee. But I do love a good tea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big green tea fan as well, except I just like iced green tea. I'm not really a hot green tea guy.
Oh, I
Yeah.
feel like that's probably ice green tea. That's so like, oh, excuse me.
Well, you know, it's just like the Lipton bottles. It's probably
Yeah,
like fake green tea,
yeah.
but it's like the one that you just get like from the fridge. It's easy, it's quick, and it tastes good to me. So, I'm with that. That's
Like honor your taste, honor your taste.
exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a Jersey girl, so I was raised in Teaneck, New Jersey, but my parents are actually both from New York. So, like I said, my mom's family, Mudbone is her cousin, who is one of the background singers of Parliament. So I think, and my parents were always into music growing up. My dad's from the Bronx when hip hop came out, like of time. Like my dad was in spots, was able to see, everything that was going on. So I think now I appreciate it as I'm older. But when I was younger, I didn't get it. But my dad was also a DJ. So like
Mm.
I grew up with him just like music always blaring, him practicing in the basement, like different, where can he get the groove? Where can he hit this? Like I was in weddings because my dad was the DJ all the time. Like that was just such a common thing that I didn't again appreciate until I was older that this was part of I would say my like, musical upbringing in a way, but it was just so normalized. So we were always either going to a party, listening to something. And then I always say my dad taught me through music, which I really appreciate. So one of the first things I think of is Marvin Gaye's Flying High in the Endless Skies off the What's Going On album. And that's how my dad taught me about addiction, right? Like, we had cousins and people who were going through it. And it's like, what's going on with them? Why are they always sweating? Why are they always shaking when they come to the family reunion? And, he'd tell me a little bit, but then we would listen to the music so I could really empathize. I think my parents were always big on how do you empathize with the human that's behind anything, which I think is so key to being an artist that sometimes is forgotten. So yeah, so that was so common for my dad to be like, "What are these lyrics about? What is this about?" And so he would like quiz me and test me or be like, "What's the symbolism here?" kind of thing.
That's so cool to get that like inner meaning, that just more meaning from a song. Did you
Yeah.
find that that helped you later on when you were, starting to create your own lyrics or starting to like create your own music, that what your dad was teaching you back then?
Absolutely. Again, I mean, I always joke, I think I said this to you once, or maybe if not, it's the first time, but the Holy Trinity in my family is Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, and Prince, without a doubt. So those three ways of thinking and then learning who their, inspirations were. I'm a huge Joni Mitchell fan. So I won't ever put myself in the category of those greats, but I always think inspiration, influence, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Like it's always going to be in your zeitgeist, even if you don't realize it. So yeah, I would say for sure. I definitely think I have a long way to go in terms of learning from the greats, but you won't ever, I'll say I don't stay in the surface. Like even if there are things that sound like they're surface, there's always another meaning underneath. So they're definitely like always, I'm always carrying them with me.
Absolutely. And you speak of artists like Marvin Gaye, like Deanna Reeves, and um you know I definitely hear like these like this old school sound to your own voice. Like tell me about who you were listening to growing up. Like who was like your top people growing up?
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I will say Erykah Badu, Joni Mitchell, Estero, Billie Holiday. I mean, I kind of it was interesting because singing was like always my um I would say place to escape to, but I never felt like because I had an uncle that was working with Shaka Khan and Roberta Flack and all of these, I felt growing up that as a black singer, I didn't do what black singers do, so therefore I couldn't sing. So it was like a secret hidden thing that I did that I kept to myself, and I didn't really start like publicly doing it probably until my very late teens, early 20s. I would say like doing the musical in high school, and then I had a boyfriend that was a music producer, and he was like, "Hey, you should sing," kind of thing, right? But before that, because I couldn't um I mean, I feel like now I found my sort of belt in my sound, but because I couldn't run like crazy, because I couldn't do all the things that R&B singers were doing for a long time, I didn't think that I could sing. And so that was a really difficult journey. But then I think when I started discovering like Nina Simone and Billie Holiday and being like, oh, song is about story and you don't have to sound perfect and it's actually about like what you're feeling. So, I'll never forget like cleaning the bathroom on Saturdays, I would just blast Nina Simone and like that was kind of when I went into my discography and like any record or song that I could find, I would go. Billie Holiday in my solitude. It was like when I was in my emo phase, I wasn't necessarily listening to like everything else, but I was listening to these women speak to their pain. So yeah, I mean, so much, so many people. I could listen forever, but I liked my Avril Lavigne, I like my Paramore, but I'm still also a '90s chick. Beyonce, Destiny's
Yeah,
Child,
sure.
TLC, Mariah Carey, and Whitney were huge for me. Mariah and Whitney were huge for me. Just the way that they didn't back away from their sound, but were so particular to what they felt. I mean, wow, wow. But yeah, I could go on forever, so I won't bore you. But there's so many names where I think to out of the box. I said Estero, Erykah Badu were these women who were exploring different sounds that didn't feel like they needed to be boxed in. India, Ree, I mean, like, Tracy Chapman, Sonny Collins,
Yes.
like, Shaka Khan, like all these of the time, in a way that now I can look back on and be like, oh, wow.
I mean, you're naming some of the greatest like singers of all time. Like these are just some of like the greatest voices like ever like heard. So like I totally understand. And to be comparing yourself to like these greats at such a young age, that like you were saying, that's a lot on you. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Like kind of in any point in your career, like was giving up like something that like you felt and that because obviously at this point now, like the music you're creating is so like elegant, it's so beautiful, it's in the escher of what you enjoy. So I would love to hear about your journey on if you ever felt like it was rocky getting to that point.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I feel like it's always rocky. I'm like, I don't ever know if I feel like I know what my value is. I know what my goals are, in music, and it's to connect with people. And so that has always been the thing that's kept me, focused on creating something. I met somebody once. He's an incredible artist himself. Jack, I think he's like Jack the Multiverse on Instagram or something of the sort. But I was singing background for a friend. Her name is Sinead. She's crazy. She's amazing. She's like, oh my God, I love her so much. And I was singing background for her, and the person who was organizing the rehearsals would be like, you do realize you have a beautiful voice, and while you are doing this, you're doing this for someone else who can't. And
Mm,
that like switched something for me because I once was that person who couldn't, right? Who felt sort of I don't want to say tortured, but I do think um as a black woman, as just someone who goes through insecurity like all humans, yeah, I felt like, oh, I'm not enough. But then when you start to share and you start to realize like, oh shoot, that person's going through the same thing I am, or like they feel that way, then you're inspired to share because you realize it's not about me anymore. I mean, I think that's one thing that acting really like helped me with was if I make it all about myself and I'm focusing on how nervous I am or oh, I got a hair out of place, I'm making it about me. What
yes.
about the person? What about what this can do for them? And the second that sort of switch happened, so I'll say there were a lot of moments like that. I performed with Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival one year, and there was this a cappella song. I'm forgetting the name of the composer. Her name is Heather. oh, her name is escaping me, but I had this big solo where I came out and did this thing. It was maybe like a minute or something like that. And I got a New York Times write-up about my vocals. And I was shocked because I was in the ensemble. I was like, no one's paying attention to that, right? But I realized, like, oh, there is this power that you have in your voice. It may not sound like this, that, or the other person, but it's you. And I think the more that we're in line with like who is that inner us, my inner JB, your inner Jason or Tina, you know what I mean? Like that is going to always connect with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that you have this sense of like team, like in like anything that you do. It's like not even like just in the people around you, but it's in like this idea of like who you are as a person. It's like just a team mentality, and I think that that's something that's so special. Where does that come from?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. So many, I'm like, come from a dark place. No, it comes from, I think, this sense of, again, like nothing is new under the sun. I think looking at my uncle and speaking to him about, he taught himself the drums, right? But you're always listening. You're always picking up on things. I don't. I mean, maybe it's like a belief pillar and thanks to my family and who I came from, but you're never alone. You're always bringing with you the DNA of your ancestors who came before you, or even the things that you don't think of, and you're for the longest time being like, oh, right, it does make sense that I have a cousin in Parliament. That totally makes sense to who I am, right? But it took me a long time to find it. And you look at the greats, people talk about Beyonce all the time and all her co-writers or all the incredible things that she does. And that's one person out of many. I'm thinking of the Beatles documentary. Like, there's nothing that is truly great that doesn't come from a sort of like melding of ideas and motivations and being. And anyone that thinks that, I remember, I mean, I love her music, but one time I saw a Billie Eilish clip and she was like, yeah, I was making this song that no one ever had before, this sound. And I'm like, I don't believe in that. Like, we're cyclical human beings, we come back to the same things again and again for a reason. So of course it's going to be unique to who I am, but there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as like cologne or like perfume. Like you can have the same scent, but it's not going to smell the same on each person. It's like your
Yeah.
pheromones are going to get into, and it's going to be a different scent than how it smells on me than on you, but it all derives from the same scent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I'm amazed with, I don't say how incredible humans are because I do think things are divinely inspired, but I think it is that. I think it's that we're all given. That is, it's not of me. It's not of me.
So, can you share? Oh, actually, like who is your uncle? I mean, you keep referring
Yeah,
to him.
yeah. So my uncle is Lenny White. He was in the band Return to Forever, which was like, I mean, talk about, as I'm saying, like nothing new created under the sun. I mean, he was really the pioneer of fusion, jazz fusion as we know it today. Um, and so, he worked with some of the greats now, Ron Carter, Stanley Clarke. These are all like huge names within the jazz world. And he felt it always really important and also honored me as a kid. Like he would always be like, what are you listening to? Like, what are I remember I'm a huge Nelly Furtado fan. I think people think of her as being like a pop artist, but if you look back to like her background and her first two albums blew me away. Like I know those songs as well, like they're in my blood. And he was always like so into the music that I was into or wanted to kind of prune my mind to see like where was I going artistically. So yeah, Lenny White, he's an incredible human and hard pushed me. Definitely would come to a performance and be like, you didn't give it your best, or you were holding back, right? It would be really funny when I have like a show and then I tell my drummer last moment because he's a jazz drummer, like, oh hey, Lenny's coming. He'd be like, what? Like
That must be a lot of pressure on the band as well.
but no, we did beautifully. Yeah, the first time that he came to one of my shows, we did Bowery Electric. And I have this Sade cover that I do. I do Is It a Crime, but I switch it up. It almost has like a bluesy sort of like rock feel to it. And he
That's
was,
awesome.
yeah. I mean, Sade is another one, right? Like I'm naming all these teams again. Not to be like, oh, I'm so cool, but just like there's so many beautiful places that I think we all pull from.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, that's my uncle. That's my uncle.
No, that's so cool. I would love to shift back to you now, and I'd love to know if there was a moment in your career that you thought that or that you knew that this was the right thing that you were doing and this was the right move for you?
Yeah. I think that there are many that like there's a brilliant artist I've worked with before. His name is Kevin Kolke. He's so great, and he often says that the artist's journey or the artist path doesn't illuminate itself until we've walked on it. So I often think those type of moments are often happening, but we don't know until we look back and we're like, oh, that was that.
Mm,
Um, and I'll say for me, one of the many ones was I think alignment is a tricky thing, and sometimes you can be doing stuff like I think trust is a huge part of the journey because even moments where you feel like, oh, like I'm not doing this or whatever, this is not coming together, you always got to have faith. So I was working at anthropology and I was like I had finished working on my EP, but like I was trying to get the money to get it mastered or something like that. Like, it's always a long journey. And I met this woman who worked at iHeartRadio in anthropology.
cool.
And she was like, oh, cool, you're a singer. She listened to my stuff. She loved it. And I was able to come in and perform for iHeart, which was so dope for their offices. I don't know if they do it anymore, but similar to like Spotify and Apple, how they have artists come in and perform
Yeah.
for the team. So I got to do that, and the response was just like, it kind of was the first time that I was like, oh, maybe there is something really special about the way that I enter a space and sing. And again, it was just as you saw me, it was just me and a guitarist, Gray Hall, who's a brilliant guitarist. And I'm so honored to work with the musicians that I do. They're so like incredible. And I'm like, you're on Broadway, you're doing this, and you want to come work with me? Cool. But yeah, we went up to their offices on 6th Avenue downtown and we went up and people were really blown away. Were really blown away. And I was like, oh shoot, I'm at iHeart. So it was one of those moments where it was like I wasn't expecting it, but it was definitely confirmation of, oh no, like this deserves to be here. You deserve to be here.
No, that's such a cool story. And like, how did you feel? Working like you weren't even trying to do anything. How do you even like? How does that conversation come up? Like, is she looking for like clothes? And you're like, oh, by the way, I sing. So whatever.
I mean, no, I mean, I think I honestly don't even remember, but I think if you again keep yourself open to who you are, like you will see someone who gets it. Like even you and me, right? Like we were both performing at different times. It's not like we had a long talk, but there's a moment I think where you connect with like-minded folks or like-hearted folks, I'll say. And that's what it was. So we were just talking and I was like, "Hey, I do this." And she was like, "Oh, cool. Let me share with the team." And she hooked it up. Um, so that was that. I don't remember the conversation exactly how it happened, but I know that generosity and kindness I believe in deeply. And I think that when you give that to others, if that is mirrored within themselves and that's a practice for them, they're going to extend that towards you.
That's such a beautiful like mantra to live by, honestly. Like, if like you go by nothing else, like that's just so awesome.
Yeah.
So, growing up in New Jersey, like how did your surroundings kind of influence who you are as a person and as an artist?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful to have grown up in Teaneck. I think that we're like 20 minutes out from New York, 20 minutes out from the bridge. Like it's not like and no shade to anybody else, but like it's not like, oh, like yeah, I'm in Jersey but I'm a New Yorker because I'm in Westchester or I'm from like Rockland or whatever. Like we're right there. So the ability to go see music, to go, when I was 14 I started taking acting classes in the city and going into the city by myself. That was just something that I was able to do. So there was already this sense of like going to La Poisson Rouge, and my parents, they're my parents, but they're young folk in the way that they live. So we were always going to a jazz club, sometimes going to see Uncle Lenny, sometimes going. So there's this proximity I think that you're always seeing. And then you see artists' lives too, because a lot of artists live here because of the close proximity. So you see the hustle, you see them gotta carry their, musician or instrument or whatever it may be to
Mhm.
get to the thing. You understand what it's like to go to Ripley Greer or Soundworks and rent out space. Like you have sort of an understanding of what that is. Um, so that's beautiful. And then I think, I went to dance school when I was younger too. Dance is a huge part of who I am as well. So growing up going to Harlem School of the Arts, being around that environment, you're constantly encouraged to just to do you, right? Like when it's all that you have, like I think that that's the beautiful thing about, I won't say the underdog or the sort of like you don't have it easy, right? Is that like there's a sort of hunger or fight for it, and where it really becomes about the thing. It's not about like, oh, let me make sure I get on this TV show or do whatever. It's like, no, let me go pull up to that site that's happening, or my friend's showing this new music. Let me go support and see what I can do. So that really helped a lot, I think.
I'd love to know like what were your favorite spots going to like for live music as a kid?
Yeah, okay, so Village Vanguard, I mean, I will always love it because that's where I saw Diane Reeves for the first time when I was 8. That's just such a special place. I'll say even this sounds a little bit bougier, but like Lincoln Center is incredible. Dizzy's is amazing. That's a jazz club there, but then even some of the shows that come there, Prince was my first like concert, so I saw Prince there. Yeah, I mean, like huge Prince head, so like it was nuts that he was my first concert when I was 10. Um, where else? I'll say Symphony Space is really great. That's like a bigger venue. Um, what else? Terminal 9 is when I saw Sia. I'm a huge Sia fan.
Wow.
Huge Sia fan. But Terminal 9 is where I saw her. Le Poisson Rouge for a lot of the smaller acts too. Bowery Electric was great when I started like being like, oh, where spots where I can go perform. Um, I'm trying to think of like so many different spaces. Blue Note, of course, Blue Note, of course, Blue Note, of course. Even if it's like the kind of thing where tickets are a little pricey, but you want to wait to see if you can get in the back, kind of thing. Grew up doing that. Even with my dad, that was such a common occurrence of like, oh, it's late, you got school the next day, but let's go see this person. So again, I got to give props to my parents. That was really they're letting me, so to speak. Smoke on the Upper West Side is another great jazz club. Iridium is another great one. So yeah, there are a bunch of spots.
No, I love it. So are you someone who goes to a lot of live music like actively, like you are like going out to shows a ton, or has it like kind of settled down as you've kind of grown up?
I would say it's settled down a bit, but not because I think I'm weird with time. Like I can only, and I think there comes a point where, and I think if you ask any actor, any artist, where you have to learn how to like shut off your brain. And sometimes I have trouble doing that. So if I'm sitting in a movie or sitting in watching TV, I'm like, oh wait, they just did that scene, but what's that scene I should be writing about? Or can I write these lyrics now? Or what? So for me, I'm really aware of like the time that I'm spending on other people's creations versus my own creation, and I struggle with that. And so I'd say like probably since pandemic times it's been a lot less, but I never ever ever regret the opportunity to go see live music, even if it's something that's not of my genre, right, or what I do. I surprised my brother with he's a huge Black Panther fan, and we went to go see the New York Philharmonic do it this past
That's
December.
so cool.
Maybe it was 2 Decembers ago, but anyway, but we went and it was amazing. And so like just the experience of live music, I truly think like changes the molecules in your body. So even if it's like going to the Campbell in Grand Central and going to catch a jazz set or whatever it is, like, I do really, really cherish that. I think there's something so special about that. Even if it's the people that are on the subway, playing the sax or whatever it is, like if it's of quality and they're giving their time, then I want to receive it because I know it's gonna change me in some way.
Absolutely. That's so respectful as well. Like just like as I know as an artist, like you usually you're trying to fight for that audience's attention and like I know to be an artist to have an audience member who's like if you're there putting in that time and effort, I'll put in that time and effort as well as an audience member. Like that's so cool. It's such a nice thing that you do.
I mean, I think that's what you're getting at is so true for any medium. Like I write as well, and it's like in order to be a really good writer, you have to be a great reader, or you
Mhm.
have to read a lot, right? And so in the same way of like if you're somebody who is giving to people, then you constantly want to be like, oh, what's working? What am I receiving when I am an audience member? It's so special.
Absolutely. No, for sure. Now, I'm curious to know if, like a lot, if there are any, you were talking about Bowery Electric a little bit and how you performed there, and it was also a place that you love to go see live music. Are there any other places that you performed at that you used to go to as a child or that you used to go to watch live music?
Um, I I'm sure that there are, but the one thing that comes up on the top of my mind, which is so cool, is Joe's Pub. So Joe's Pub is attached to the Public Theater. It's like this side venue downtown. And I remember as a high schooler going with my friend. They do a lot of like if a Broadway show is in like sort of the writing stages or whatever, they'll test the music. You can rent it out, you can do whatever. But so I remember her friend was performing like this like Broadway cabaret that they had, and this is forever ago when I was like 16, 17, and we went to go see it. And now I perform with a group called Losers Lounge. Joe McGinty, who has this karaoke piano bar, amazing, in Chelsea called Sid's Gold, it's amazing. He also has a group of singers that he sings with where they do like covers of like old yacht rock songs and like they have oh my goodness, like Stax Records nights where they go through different like songs and catalogs. And so I've now been performing with them for a few years. So that was really surreal to me to be like, holy crap, like I went here to go see someone when I was 16 and now I'm singing in Joe's Pub and people and like this is my experience, you know?
It's so cool.
So I'll say that's been one of the coolest things ever. I also got to meet Alicia Keys that night, one of those nights, which was amazing. When she was working on Hell's Kitchen when it was at Public Theater, I got to stop her as she was coming out of the bathroom. She was so gracious. I was just like, your music and your words have changed me. That's another person as well who was lyricist. I mean, like when she came out with her poetry book, my head was in it. Like, you know,
So did she share any like insight with you or anything like just like any words of encouragement?
no, she was on her way out, so I wanted to make sure. I mean, I try to, I don't think I get too starstruck, but I am very big on like human to human. So I didn't like, I wasn't like any advice or anything like that. I just said to her, you know, like your words and your voice changed me throughout my life and made such a huge impact on how I receive music. And she was really touched and she was just like, thank you. And I got to share that moment with her.
That's so
Um,
beautiful in and of itself right there.
So beautiful. I will never forget. I was just like freaking out the whole day. I was like, I met Alicia Keys. But I think like, yeah, like that's one of the places where it was just really like, oh wow, kind of thing. Full circle moment.
Absolutely. So I'd love to know about, what your kind of future is looking like. Are you planning on doing a little bit more of live shows? Are you planning on doing more recorded music? Kind of what is next for JB in that
Yeah.
sense?
So I'm also just like so I feel like on brand for me. So right now I'm finishing my master's in creative writing with a focus on nonfiction. So which is like so that is so I hope to be done by next May. So that's really I'm really trying to have that be my like laser vision focus. Um
Good.
because I have the tendency to sometimes to take on like all these different things that I do, which I'm very, very grateful for, but it means like sometimes needing to dial in. So, I think I will always, there will never be a year where like I don't perform or anything like that. But I am trying to keep my focus to the writing. I will say I have a music video coming out. Like I got two music videos coming out. I have a disco song that's really cool that I've done with a friend coming out, and now I feel like I'm in the writing stage. So my hope is to have a project come out towards middle end of 2026. So I'm probably in writing stage, but you're always gonna find me like doing an acoustic set somewhere just to share and connect with the people, always.
So, what is it like to balance the work of a master's degree in creative writing? You're also an actress, you've been on Netflix, and on top of that, you're also creating this like this lovely music. Like, what is that like? How are you doing that?
You're so kind. I mean, I also work full time, so like that's insane. Like I don't think I will say this. I think that the kind of world we live in right now in 2025 demands so much of us that like I don't think I'm alone in this and being like there's just so much going on all the time. So I work at NYU Tisch Drama as like assistant director of their advisement team. That's what I do. That's my quote unquote day job. I'm also co-president of the Black Alumni Network of NYU, so always doing stuff for our community within that. That's
Awesome.
such a huge part of who I am always, making people feel like they belong. So there's like also that in the background. So I would say my days, and then I refuse to label myself in this way, but some people would call me neuroflowy, neurowavy. So I think that it's always a balance of like, what is my day demand? I will say my spiritual practice is so important to me. Um, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, which is a whole other like bag and whole thing, but it really means that a lot of my time is putting God first and then trusting that the rest is going to follow. So that may look like on one day waking up and uh, taking a few breaths, saying prayer, reading a scripture for 10 moments before I go into my day. Maybe it means I'm splitting up. I never try to let time go without using it. So you'll find me always with a journal in hand, like always writing stuff down. I try to write for an hour a day. So I take 30 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So there's definitely a lot more balance to be found. But I'm always on the go. Like my friends know that like JB is always busy, unfortunately, kind of thing. And I think it's just the thing that now is accepted and understood, which I'm very, very grateful for. But there's always something. I just finished a half marathon, which is crazy, like a little less than a
I
month back. So there's always something that's going on with JB in a way. But you figure out how to make it work. I think I come from a family who hustles. My mom and my dad are incredible at that. My family's amazing in that. So I think it's just that mentality of like you keep going while you're here on this earth and you have it, do it, you know?
Absolutely. Do you find it ever hard though to balance that work life and I mean work in terms of like everything and then also that life of just personal time, friends time, like how do you find yourself that balance? Do you find a balance in that?
No, no, okay. I mean, I do. I mean, I'm learning. I think you're constantly learning and constantly growing. And I'm, I will say now, like, I don't consider myself a late bloomer, but just like my focus is different. What I care about is different. Um, I think that a lot of focus sometimes tends to be on romance, which I love, but I
Mhm.
had to be like, yo, that's not all I want. And that's great for other people. That's totally fine. But really, I think sitting down with your values. I mean, therapy helps. Like, I love my therapist. I will give her all the praises all day. Denise Harris, she would hate that I shout her out, but I love her. Um, I think it's, and having people in your life who keep you grounded, right? Who remind you that it's okay to not be okay. And then I will say, as insane as I am about time, I also honor those spaces and those days where I just do nothing, right? Where um I need to kind of just, you can probably hear my dog barking in the background. My puppy is amazing. I love my dog. I have a chocolate lab who's like my everything. So you have those days and those moments where you do just let yourself sort of just be and do whatever, right? And I think finding the balance between that is how I do it. Again, I still have a lot to learn, so I'm learning. But sleep is important, your water is important, and knowing yourself, knowing what you need and knowing yourself is huge.
So, what is one key like motivating factor that drives this like artistic creation that you have? And does it have an influence on the music that you make at all as well?
Yeah. One motivating factor, I would say, I know this sounds so cheesy, but like, so I have this saying that it's called stay love struck, right? And in the Michelle Alexander has this book called The New Jim Crow that talks about the mass incarceration system. And there's a foreword by Dr. Cornel West. And he talks about MLK and how, people talk about him, but he was love struck with people, that he saw every single person as his sister, his brother, his mom, his lover, whatever. And so that for me has been the through line of like, how do I stay love struck? How do I not get jaded? How do I not go through things? Because that's the trick. I think people like, it's so, I won't say it's easy. Like I struggle with depression, anxiety, all of that. But I remember that that's a tool of like those who want us to get down on ourselves. And so, how do I fight back with that, right? My resistance is my joy. My resistance is choosing to love other people. And so, part of that love is giving of myself this thing that I've been given. I mean, you're just as beautiful. You have this ability to connect with people, this ability to speak so truthfully in your music to like what we're all feeling, right? And maybe don't want to say, or like you do that so beautifully. So, it would almost be selfish of you to hold that back from people, right? And that's how I view it. So it's not so much, again, like the goal is connecting to others. When I'm in that space, it's about connecting to others, showing others that they can access that love within themselves. And then if they could go away feeling like more love for themselves or for others, then I've done my job.
That's, I mean, that's like I think the goal of any artist who's, trying to, just be great is just to make your audience feel and to make your audience feel that love that you wanted to give. Who were the artists that you would say like really did that for you? I know we kind of talked about a lot of them before. Were there any that like stood out like specifically that were like touching you in that sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, I'm thinking of like the five. I'll say, that holy trinity that I joke about, but Stevie Wonder, Prince, Michael Jackson, there's a few moments of true vulnerability that I think for me was like, oh, it's okay to be seen and heard when you're not okay. Again, when you're really in a dark place, when you're questioning existence and love and all of that. So they were huge for me. Um, Billie Holiday, right? Just being able to sort of moan in your pain or just be in this space of like that was so healing to me again to be like, oh, as a Black woman, I don't have to be strong and I don't have to have it all together. I can just be me and that be enough. Same with Erica Badu, India Arie. Um, and then I'll say Joni Mitchell again. I always, when I'm lost, like I come back to Joni all the time. Because I think that there is this sense of like release and like who we and our expectations of ourselves and just being present that really allows for what is true to shine through. So yeah, I mean, I wish there was one that I could speak to. I definitely have like a playlist of songs that are always going, but yeah, I'll say like Green Eyes by Erica Badu is huge. That helped me get through every heartbreak. I love Coldplay. I
Okay.
love play. That whole Parachutes album, I always say, is one of my Desert Island albums, which is shocking to me, but it has not left. So yeah, I mean, there are so many people, but any artist that is able to reveal their imperfect nature,
Do you think
right?
that Coldplay is the most unexpected kind of influence that is on your music?
I guess expectations have to do with what people know about you, right? So I mean, I think so. If someone didn't know, maybe. I would say maybe people would be even more shocked by like Radiohead or something like that. Like
Okay,
I mean, Radiohead is always playing. Like there's not a week that goes by where at some point I'm not playing Radiohead.
gotcha.
Um,
That's awesome.
I mean, like they're nuts, and it's so funny because some people would argue that like those two, like Coldplay is way too commercial, right? And that like I think that's a mistake too, where people are like, oh, if something's commercial, then it's bad, and it's like no, that just means it got popular, right?
Very, very true. I totally agree with that.
Um,
Do you think that
yeah.
are there any artists that are currently making music that you're a fan of, or that give you that kind of sense of that feeling of the past?
Yeah, Cleo Soul is one of the first people that just like popped into my mind. I love the way that she does not back away from her connection to the divine or her seeking of the divine. That is something that I feel like more and more I'm finding strength in saying comfortably. I'm thinking about Faye Webster. Faye is Bay. I don't have many young white women that I'm like, okay, I love y'all, but Faye is Bay. Faye Webster can take my heart anytime. Hiatus Coyote. Oh, I'm such a huge Hiatus Coyote fan. I mean, I think the way that they honor, in a way, jazz fusion and what it has been, but also finding new ways. I've seen them in concert. Is it twice or once? But like blew my mind away. Where it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So they're also another band. Like at once a week at minimum, they are playing in my rotation. Um, I love, I mean, it sounds so corny, but I love Beyonce. I'm never not going to be a fan of what she does. She's just one of the greats. So I feel like she's just such a master and how to explore. Um, who else? I mean, like there are so many different artists. And I would say like I struggle sometimes, like if I know I'm gonna get something from somebody that I know that's gonna take me there versus trying new, I am sometimes hesitant towards that. But I just saw like there's a song right now that's going viral that's called Mothers and Daughters, and I forget who that's by, but like so beautiful, so beautiful. So it's always gonna be about the content for me. Always gonna be like, what are they speaking about? What are they talking to? If something is low vibrationally and like majority of the song is talking about like I love The Weeknd and he's great for a club banger, but all the time I'm like, dude, like is anybody checking in on you? Like, are you okay? Same with SZA. Like I love I just went to go see SZA and Kendrick. I mean Kendrick,
Yeah.
like I mean I think he's the Shakespeare of our time. I truly, truly believe that like
Mm.
the way that people put Shakespeare on a pedestal. Um that Kendrick is the Shakespeare of our times. It's just a different format. I believe that's so hardcore. Huge, huge K-Dot fan. So I saw him in SZA and I love SZA, but sometimes my joke is like, yo, SZA girl, you good?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Good. Like, let's talk about it, you know? So I think but yeah, she's amazing. Her pen game is incredible too. So there are definitely a lot of new artists that I jam to. I don't know if I would say I quite take inspiration from them, but I definitely jam to.
Absolutely. No, no, I think that there's a fine line to be had too, as well as, whenever you're jamming to something versus whenever you're trying to like really take it in and take inspiration from it as well. So
What
I
about
think
you?
there's
Do you have like do you find the balance between new and old or
I definitely do because especially now that I've, started working with Wish, like a lot of the people that I listen to, I might not be taking inspiration from, but I'm definitely like just like clocking how they move and I'm clocking how like how their creative process and things like that and the new sounds that they're kind of taking from. So it's like it's definitely like I'm noticing a lot more from like the new people, but like I always have my go-to inspirations. I have guys like, Jada Kiss, I have guys like yeah,
yeah.
there you go. I did a Jada fan over here. Okay, that's fire, whatever. Um, so just my people. I really take from my group, the lyricists and the like the Neos and the Ushers and yeah. So that's
Are
just
you I'm so curious, are you a Carl Thomas fan?
uh you know
Oh, okay, okay.
um I need to get my more into my Carl Thomas bag if I'm gonna be honest with you. I would love some recommendations. I need me some Carl Thomas
Yeah.
recommendations.
Oh my goodness. No, I mean, I think like in a way it's so funny. It's like not that it's unspoken, but for me like 90s R&B because like that is the time that I came up in is so like it's almost like it's inherent that I don't even like Missy Elliott. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Timbaland. Come on.
true.
Um, like that's just like it's of the ether, so it's not even something to like 702, right? Like harmonizing. I mean, all of that I think sometimes doesn't get enough credit. So that makes me really happy to hear.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Um, so one thing that with all these like great writers that you have, mentioned, it's one thing that they've been able to do is evolve, right? And they've been able to move their sound as they move, yeah, as a person. And I'd love to know how you have, evolved your music, how your music has grown with you as a person.
Yeah, I think for sure it does. I mean, it was so funny because FLSW, which is amazing, it came out with November of last year. Um, still encouraging people to listen to it. It's beautiful. I do feel like there's a timeless element to it. And also, I can acknowledge that, like, oh, I wouldn't create that now.
Yeah.
Like, that is of who that person was and what they were going through and how they needed to express it. And of course, it's of me, but it's not who I am in this present moment. Um, I will send you something that is unreleased that won't come out until next year, but you'll hear the difference. It's called I'm thinking of calling it like Seagull Song or Serenade to a Seagull. Um, I'm obsessed with seagulls. I just think that they're beautiful birds. They're incredible. I have a tattoo of a seagull. It's a whole other thing. Joni Mitchell has a whole album called Songs to a Seagull. So, but yeah, I think how do I say it? Like there's Stella Adler, she's no longer living, but that's an acting technique where she says growth as an artist is synonymous with growth as a human. So I almost don't think it's possible to stay in the same bag. Even if you try,
Hmm.
like it just won't be the same. So my biggest thing with writing is like what is the thing that you're afraid to talk about? What is it, the sound that you're afraid to make, and how do you step into that boldly? Because it's going to be there. I don't think you can. I think you can, of course, have an idea of like, okay, I want to play with this melody, or I want to stay within this structure, or this sound, but like, I it's not the same. I'm just not the same person. So it's not going to be like, right, cellularly, structurally, I wake up every day a different person kind of thing. So, I think what sticks is like what makes you you. But I have this weird belief that I don't think it's always of, I don't think the responsibility always lies on us to know the ways that we evolve. I think the responsibility is to be open to it, to allow it to happen. So I don't always know sorry, I think connection's a little funky, but that's okay. Um, I don't know what that always looks like, but I know that I can hear something and be like, oh, I was timid there, or I didn't want to sound as powerful there, or I didn't want to go as into it. Okay, now I'm game, right? Like, or now I've sang this a while, so I can do it this way. Sometimes that means like, am I going to draw back a little bit? Am I going to be more quiet in this moment than when I performed this 4 years ago? So that kind of thing, I think it's always there in a way.
That's such a cool like way to think about it as well. Like not necessarily thinking about the growth as like a specific thing that you did, but to just know that like I'm open to being different now. Like I'm open to doing that. That's such a cool. I've never thought about it that way, and that's just such a really cool way to think about that. Um,
Yeah, this
yeah.
disco track that I have coming out with my friend this summer is so like, I mean, disco's cool, but I'm not like a disco head kind of thing. But it would also be crazy of me to not speak to like Donna Summer and Shalimar and the Gap Band, how all of these again are a part of who I am, or my environment, how I've been raised. So it was cool to be like, oh shoot, this disco song sounds cool. It's different. Right? And I also don't believe in perfection, so it's okay if it's not perfect, but is it a capability or an opportunity for me to explore and grow? Yeah, I'll take it.
That's cool. Is that ever scary for you though? That idea of trying something like super different. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think being an artist is scary. I think it takes a lot of bravery just to put your voice alone, right? Your voice alone. Like I used to have a voice teacher that was so brilliant. Like he used to like talk about the ear and the mechanics of it. Like I can never, which is, the philosophical part of me can go off on this for hours, but like you'll never be able to fully understand what I'm receiving of you, what your voice sounds like to me, right? That's a crazy concept. I can never truly know what I sound like to people, right? So that alone is really terrifying to commit to this idea of putting yourself out there. Um, so yeah, I do think it's inherently scary. But I think that's where that trust and faith comes in, where you do it enough times. Like, I don't think Beyonce ever doesn't get scared, right? I think she just becomes more comfortable with the fear of knowing it's going to be there. And that's where I think your collaborators, you got to choose them. And you learn that through time, right? Like when you're first starting out, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna work with anybody. Then it becomes a point where you're like, ooh, let me hear a few of your songs.
yeah.
Let me work with you, right? That kind of thing. So I do think that sort of collaboration piece is important. Um, but once you have that at play, that's the sort of, I think, letting go of the magic that is, right? Like, I think we talk about genius in a different way than the greats used to, right? Like, it used to be that genius was something that visited you, it wasn't someone who you are. And I still believe in that very much. So, like, what I am creating is never because I'm so great, it's because I'm allowing for whatever to be greatness to come into me. So,
Hmm.
if open to that at any moment. I think that's the gift of art, right? That's why you can give a kid a crayon, they can create something that's brilliant. You can teach someone a song and they can sing it in a way that's going to hit your soul differently. It's not because they're so brilliant, it's because of their openness. So I always imagine if I'm open to what's being gifted, then there's always something to find.
You always have these like very like
Weird.
these like thought out answers that are like, man, like, well, that has to be like written somewhere. Like, how are you coming up with that right on the spot? Like, that's insane.
It's not. There are no notes, no notes.
That is like, I can't even like. It'd take me 10 years to think of something that like that proficient, like or profound. I mean, like that's insane.
I think
Um,
experience it though. Like I think of there was a moment during your set which was so cool. You were like, I'm trying out something new. And you had the crowd like repeat something or go with you, and like you don't know what's gonna happen in that
Yeah,
moment. You don't know if they're gonna give into it, but you're open to it. And
yeah,
so it's I do think like yes, it's profound, but it's something that we experience all the time where you do it in your own music. You know, it's that leap of faith.
absolutely. So I want to also now talk about you were talking to me about this disco track.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tell me about how this sound, why this sound was the right time for you.
Yeah, so Alex Cherney, he used to go by Ray Music, but he goes by Alex Cherney. Brilliant filmmaker, producer, director. We met on a set of his that my friend was like associate producing. And we just clicked and we started working together. We wrote this really cool, it's almost like it's not really a short film, but it's called The Have Not. Me, myself, and our friend Denzel. So we've always like created together, and we kind of have this. I mean, I joke that like he's the reason why like my music is out to begin with, because he's really good at being like, all right, when are you doing this? When are you getting this out? And you always need people in your tribe like that. So I'm really grateful for him. I'll send his socials along as well so you
Please.
can see. But yeah, he was like, I dig your voice and I want you on this track. And he, works with this I think they're twin brothers. They're called the Brothers Nylon. They've done a few stuff for some folk, and they have this very groovy 70s sound to them. They're from Florida. He flies there to like they do it on like analog or something like that. Like it's so like out there. And he was like, "Yeah, I just want you to be part of this." So, my brother raps as well. So my brother's featured on Clouds. So Alex was like, "Yo, I want to have yeah, yeah, so musical family again."
Awesome.
So he was like, I want to have your brother on a track and I want to have you on a track. So Alex lives on this like piece of land in the Hudson Valley. It's beautiful. It's off like the edge of a cliff. You can look out and see water. Yeah. So he was like, and he had this idea for his disco album was like a pool party. So there's this song called I think it's called Paradise Vibes or something of the sort. He's gonna kill me for forgetting the name. But we were like really like what would it be like if we invited someone to paradise? Like let's really I know it sounds crazy, but like let's see like what would it be like to live in paradise? And it might be scary at first. You might be hesitant because it sounds too good to be true. So that's when you start playing around with melody and you start having fun and putting on new voices. Like that's like I think a bit of where the acting side comes in. So it was scary, but I think I was just like game. I think having a mentality when you are an artist, and it doesn't mean you're going to do everything successfully, right? Like things may not work. But when you have this sense of your voice and knowing that it can transcend anything because it is so malleable, you're like, oh, I can do anything. Like, you want me to rap? All right. It might not sound good. I'm not gonna sound like Tino, but like I'm still gonna sound, I'm gonna make sure that it's JB coming through. So once like I think again the practice of that faith and that trust of like, oh, it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. And you do that enough times. I have there are a few tracks, I think there are two, they're out. With my friend Kevin McLaughlin. Like if you look under JB, you'll see the other stuff that I'm attached to. That was so scary to me because he makes music that's completely different than what is perceived to be the music that I make. But I knew that it was going to be dope because he's dope. So I was like, all right, here's the trust. I think it also is something too when I say a lot of the times that like it goes back to who that little girl thought she was that couldn't sing, right? Like when I started stepping into my voice and realizing like, oh, music is just music, right? Like we have these genres and forms, but really it's music. So that awakening or awareness for me was huge. And so, like you've heard my set, I don't necessarily sound like the same chick that's singing on FLSW, but the synergy is the same, the
Absolutely.
energy is the same, the truth is the same. And so that for me was like a learning point because for a long time I was like, oh, I gotta sound like I do on the album or I can't perform these songs, but I do. No, it's all me.
It's so true what you just said there that like you don't need to sound the same, you just need to be the same. Like you just have to bring that same energy. My live shows don't sound anything like my recorded music. I have a more like rock sounding with a rap front. Like But when I get on the recorded stuff, it's purely hip hop, R&B. So
Yeah.
yeah, but the energy is the same, you know, the person's the same. So I think that that's a very, very true statement. Once again, like this idea of community for you is just so big. I'd love to know kind of what does it mean to you to kind of like help out your own community and to give back to your community, and just what does community mean to you?
Oh my goodness. Community is everything. Community is a way to see yourself outside of yourself. Like I think and that sense of giving, like even with Kevin and Alex, like I didn't necessarily, or even like, you, right? Like it's not like, of course it's always about the result or the product. Like you want to make something that's good for people to listen to, but it's about that sense of connection. Like, you know, I know that we're going to uplift each other. I know that it really gets back to something my Uncle Lenny taught me, right? Like he says, we're living in such dark times that true artists, we're light bearers. We bear the light. So who am I to not help you shine your light? Because it's gonna encourage the light in the world. So when my friend Alex is like, "Yo, I have this disco trap I think you're going to be great on." My friend Kevin is like, "Yo, I have this track I want you on." Cool, dope. And I know that it's not a matter of saying like, "Oh, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours." It's not about that, but knowing that you'll show up for each other, right? Like I know that if I need folks to be there because I'm feeling a little nervous, or please come to my show, or like you have any opportunities, we'll help each other out. That's what we do. Um, and it's not just in one medium. My friend Alex, again, like he was like, "Yo, you want to be in this film? Yo, you want to write? Yo, you want to do," like that's just how it happens. And when you're authentically um searching for the same thing, which, is different for some people. Excuse me, some people it's about followers, some people it's about can we get content? Some people it's about that. That's cool for them. But with the people that I work with, it's like, oh, we're trying to put good things out into the world. Then that's the goal. Let's support each other. That can mean me showing up for your show. That can mean me taking liner notes or transcribing something that you need. That can mean me being your reader when you're doing an audition. Whatever it means, I'm there. And I think that if we, again, seeing yourself outside of yourself, if you have an understanding that like that is somehow going to multiply itself and be of benefit to everyone, then like why wouldn't you? And you can't do it all the time. I even there was a show that my friend was doing. I think, yeah, yesterday was Thursday, and I couldn't go, but I was like, you know what? I love you. You're gonna kill it,
Yeah,
right?
just that idea of support.
Exactly. Exactly. So I just think it's like I don't see a world where, and I think that's what we're lacking, unfortunately, a lot of just the craziness that we're seeing out here is people being self-focused. Like, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? And like I just think things would be so much different. It was like if it was like, yo, what do you need? How can
Yeah.
I help?
I I don't even like speechless, just like I don't even know what to say to that. That's just it's amazing. I don't even
It's
know.
not me, like again, like that's not coming from that. And that's the beauty of community, right? When you align yourself with communal goals, that filters through you. So it's not that brilliance or whatever. It is not coming from me. That's coming through the different stories that I take in, the different books that I read, my scriptural knowledge, right? Like it's communal.
So this idea of, the world right now. If there was one thing that you could say to the world right now, I think the world definitely needs one thing to be said to from JB. Like, what would you say to the world?
Stay love struck with yourself, the parts of yourself that feel dark, the parts of yourself that feel scary. Give them some light. The part of others that they're afraid of, shine light on that. Really, really stay love struck by things that even feel so simple, but are important. That could mean smelling a flower or being thanking the sun for being out. Stay struck with love. Don't let the darkness get to you. That's what I would say. Don't let the darkness get to you. Stay love struck.
JB, your personality and your this calmness to you is just so like it's just so beautiful, and it emanates to me. Like we're over a screen right now and I feel like I'm beaming just from just having this conversation. Like seriously, like This has been like just an amazing conversation. I could talk to you for a whole nother hour, but I don't want to keep you. Um, I just want to thank you again for taking the time to talk to me. All with everything you do with your master's degree, with the more music coming out, like please, keep in touch and share because I'd love to support you in any way I can, and Wish would love to support you as well. So, thank you so much for coming out for talking to me, and yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, it's like I said, it's an honor to be here. It's only this wonderful because you're willing to receive it and create a space where artists can truly shine and hold themselves up to what is true and integral to them. So thank you.
I appreciate that so much. And yeah, I think that we should be good here. JB, thank you so much.